What got me into traveling basically came from my parents. My father is from Kenya, my mother is from Trinidad. So growing up, we were always traveling to other countries. So from then on, I was kind of hooked on it. I guess the more you travel, the more you see, and the more you realize you don't know. So there's always more to learn. Every time you travel, you always discover something else. And I guess it's kind of like a drug. You once you get into it, you got to keep going back. I'm obsessed with the world. I'm obsessed with everything about it. Yeah, the food, the culture, the language. I love exploring and discovering new things. And travel for me is freedom. That's really what it is. There's nothing like it. And that's, I guess, again, that's why I live my life for it. Everything I do is to feel that. Some friends of mine, were like, hey, come with us on a bike ride. And I was like, a bike ride? I haven't ridden a bike since I was, a kid. And I borrowed my friend's bike for that night. We rode all night long. I was immediately hooked. I got a bike within a few days later. Bike travel is pure freedom for me. There is no better way to see your city, your state, your country, to see the world than by a bicycle. There's something really beautiful about moving your body through space and time, carrying everything that you'll need, everything that you own with you, and being very self-sustained. I can look at a map now and I can say, I can go anywhere on this map as long as I have two working legs and a decent bike. And it's very empowering. As soon as I began riding my bike, I began kind of planning in my head longer trips. So I've been on three larger trips. I biked from my parents' house in St. Louis, Missouri to Indianapolis. That was the first time. The second time was when I biked from Portland to San Francisco. And then I just recently got back from a trip where I biked from St. Louis to New York City. The best moment about bike travel for me is always the people. Going out of their way to be just incredible, to be awesome, to be nice, to be kind, to help you out. No matter where I've gone, there's always amazing people, and that's the best part about the bike trip. There is a lot of downside to bike travel, especially traveling solo. There are days when it's just really tough. And then you're like riding through a small town and you're seeing all these families inside their homes and they're nice and warm and they're having a great time. And you're just kind of like, oh, I wouldn't mind being back home. Even when times are bad, it's really important to just embrace that. It's not going to be a real trip or an adventure without that, because you have to have that downside. When I left home, I told my mom I was traveling to Chicago, which I was. I didn't tell her the full story. And then they found out, a few days later that I made it to Canada. And once I made it to Canada, they just flipped out. But they kind of understand it because they're travelers as well. They know what it means to travel. They know what it means to leave your home. I think I'm crazy, but they accept it now. And they are at peace with I think once they realize that this is not a phase for me, this is something that I'm going to do and going to continue to do, I think they're at peace with it now. The minimum and maximum amount of miles I'll do a day depends on a lot of factors. So for me, it averages about between 40 and 85 miles a day. I definitely understand the concern with personal safety, and I get that question asked a lot. I think we're given the idea that places are more dangerous than they actually are. I can tell you I've never feared for my safety on any of my bike trips, so much that I don't even think about it until someone brings it up. I camp out everywhere. I camp out in abandoned buildings or, behind Walmarts, behind gas stations, I camp out in the middle of a city, doesn't matter, and I've never had a problem. My biggest goal as a bike traveler is just to go to as many places as I can, learn as much as I can, meet as many people as I can. I want to eat the world. I want to soak everything up. As long as I can, I'm going to try and just feed that. Whatever that thing is that's making me want to do that, I'm going to keep feeding it. Whenever I'm out there on the bike, I feel right. I feel at peace. I feel like this is where I need to be. There's just this sense of like, this is where I need to be, more so than anything else. Biking from St. Louis to Brooklyn is, it's the beginning of the beginning. I have so many other adventures planned out for myself. I'm thinking maybe I could bike from St. Louis to California, maybe St. Louis to Louisiana, then fly to South America, Central America. Overseas is definitely part of my future plans, and eventually I'd like to do an around the world trip, as well as do longer excursions like Alaska to Argentina. Once you realize that you can do it on your own, you look at a map and literally you can look at a map and say, I can go anywhere on this map. You know what I'm saying? You can look at it and go, there is not a place on this world that I can't get to as long as I have the right gear and right equipment. There's nothing that can stop me. And now that I know that, it's like, I can't just stay here. You know, I have to go.